Let's go live now to the Shadow Assistant Treasurer, Stephen Jones. As Andrew alluded to there, that policy, it's hit that cost of living button, and, particularly in terms of housing and the cost of housing. You can see why their policy announced on the weekend would resonate with a lot of young people.
Look, the data that I've seen seems to suggest that young people are seeing through it. They see it as a desperate act of a Prime Minister who's on the ropes. This was a good idea. It would have been announced in the budget. It would have been announced at the beginning of the campaign, not 5 minutes to midnight. The reason it was released 5 minutes to midnight is that it's a dud policy, one that's been considered by every Liberal and Labor Prime Minister for the last 30 years. And every Liberal and Labor Prime Minister for the last 30 years has dismissed it. The reason they'll dismiss it, they'll send house prices through the roof. They won't build one new house. And it's the thin edge of the wedge to smash superannuation in this country. Scott Morrison, who's bringing in the biggest deficits and the biggest debt in our nation's history, had a skerrick of economic credibility left. He blew it away when he stood up on Sunday and announced this policy. Malcolm Turnbull said it was the dumbest idea he's ever seen. That Matthias Cormann said would send house prices soaring. That 3 members of his current cabinet have said it's going to send house prices through the roof. Peter Costello himself dismissed something that'll do nothing but increase the cost of housing. So Scott Morrison, never too troubled about economic credibility, has introduced a policy which has been roundly condemned.
Now, you want to take the moral high ground on the economic credibility front. The costings are coming out on Thursday. As I said before, it's the perennial debate about costings. I've seen many cycles come and go, and it's always the same, 48 hours before, and then there they are. But do you see it like Andrew Clennell articulated earlier, that given the size of deficits and debt that the nation faces right now, that even if it is slightly above, that it reduces any resonance, I guess, in terms of the political impact for you?
Well, look, I can tell you that people will get a full look at our costings on Thursday. There's nothing unusual about that. Indeed, it's what Scott Morrison, Tony Abbott, the coalition opposition did in 2010 and 2013. So a completely orthodox approach. I will note that on our watch, and as we've announced policies, we've done alongside the announced those policies costings. So the costings have been announced at the same time, independent costings, so whether Reputech costings of our climate change policy, Parliamentary Budget Office costings of other policies, whether it's aged care or housing. These have all been rolled out with full, credible and independent costings. Frankly, I don't know what the government's on, and I don't have much moral high ground. On his watch, Scott Morrison has seen net debt go from $270 billion when he came into power in 2013. He doubled that debt by the time the COVID pandemic hit in 2020, and then nearly doubled it.
So is it your view that if it's slightly above
approaching $850 billion? Sorry, Kieran.
So is your view that if it's slightly above that in terms of debt and deficit, that people will cop that?
Look, you'll have to wait until Thursday for the full details of this to be announced, Kieran. But what I can tell you, we're not going to cop any criticism from Josh Frydenberg, who's able to lose $60 billion behind the couch, the job seeker debacle, and $30 billion over to companies that didn't need it through the COVID job seeker relief package, and is writing cheques for $6 billion to the French not to build submarines. There's zero credibility, and you'll see on Thursday the full cost.